Hello guys, you're welcome back to the channel. So I've been seeing this style and I decided to recreate it for an almost 3-year-old child, and that was a very simple one to make. So stay true to the end and watch how I made this, and if you find it useful, please do give me a thumbs up and endeavor to subscribe if you've not. Also leave a comment for me. What do you think about this style for a child, and will you be trying it out? So let's go into the video. So here I have about 10 yards of net material, but I will not be exhausting all. Then a yard of cotton lining and African print. Here I have 6 yards, but I will not be using up to 1 yard of the African print. So let's go into the cotton part. Here I have my fabric folded. I'll be using this black lining to cut out, since I'll be cutting on I'll be using a white lining. I don't want to mark on the lining. So on the first part, I have my zipper allowance drawn on it. To get the amount of fabric to fold is quarter of your biggest measurement. Here is the hip, quarter of it. You put it on fold for the front and the back piece. And I'll be taking my starting line after placing on the zipper allowance. All my measurements will be from that line. And I'll take my waist measurement and my hip measurement of 14 inches, then the length where I want the curve to start from. My waist measurement is 9 inches, my hip measurement is 14 inches, and I'll be taking 3 inches after the hip measurement where the curve will start from. So I'll turn that into a straight line, and I'll go over to my shoulder measurement and take quarter of my shoulder and come down by half an inch for the shoulder slope. So for the neck width, I'm doing 2.5 by 2.75 for the front and 2.5 by 1 inch for the back, since I'm cutting both the front and the back together. And I'll join the front neckline and the back neckline, and I'll move over to the shoulder slant and connect it to the half an inch. Over there, I will take half of my round armhole, which is 4.5, and I'll place exactly what I have there on the other side to get my chest line. So the line I just drew now is my chest line. Just trying to label it so that you know the lines I'm taking. So the first chest line, waist, my hip, and the length. So I will place exactly what I have on my shoulder on my chest line and turn that into a straight line for my armhole depth. Then I will take my measurement. The chest I'm working with is 22 inches. Quarter of it is 5.5. Then I added 1 inch for the seaming allowance. I will repeat the same thing for the waist, and for my hip, my is 23 inches. But because I want this dress not to be fitted at the hip part, I'll add 1 inch. That's 24 inches. Quarter of it is 6 inches. Then I'll add my allowance. So now I'll join those lines and go over to my armhole depth to get the midpoint, which I will now connect as a curve to the chest line. So I'll go over to my shoulder and add half an inch. So right now I've added allowance to the shoulder and to the side, and I will move to the length where I want the curve to start from. Those scallops, I want it to be 3 inches below the hip line, and on that line I'll take half inch from the center front, half inch. Then what is remaining, I would put exactly what I'm trying to put exactly what I have on my hip on that length, on that line. So take half an inch like I'm doing if you're using the same measurement like mine, and from that half an inch divide whatever that is remaining into 2. So I'm dividing whatever that is remaining into 2, and from that mark line I will take 1 inch again. Then I'll go up from the hip line, I'll come down by 1 inch. I'll just leave that with a dotted line. I'll just come down by 1 inch from the hip line, and I'll connect my curve. So what I have, I'm trying to transfer what I have on that line to the hip line. The middle point, I've connected it to the hip line, then I'll connect it with a ruler. So from that ½ inch, connect to the 1 inch below the hip line and make a curve. What you see me doing, and make a curve 1 inch below the hip line, connect it to the ½ inch from the center front to that line, and from that 1 inch that you make, you connect it to the side seam as well. So this one is like a half circle, is like a quarter circle, whereas the first one is like a half circle. So remember, I've added my seam allowance to the side. I'll go ahead and just add my allowance to those curves. The allowance I'll be using to sew it, I will add them to the curve. My allowance has been added to my side seam, so I'm just marking those lines for you to know my exact measurement. This is the exact measurement, then plus the allowance. So after doing this, the next thing is for me to cut through those lines, but the neckline, I will cut through the back neckline first before I'll separate it and cut through the front. After cutting it, I'll separate the front and the back and trim off the front neckline, and I'll place it back and make my notches on the waist and on the hip. On those lines, I'll just notch them. So I'll give my notch on the waist and on the hip, and this is what I have. I'll use it exactly like this and cut on my African print. This way I will use it and cut on my African print exactly. And after cutting on my African print, I will fold in those scallops from the hip. I'll fold in those curves from the hip and use it to cut my lining. My lining will not be having those curves. So this is what I will place on my African print and cut. Folding, then after that I'll fold in and cut the lining. So after cutting this is what I have. The lining does not have those curves, the scallops, both the front and the back, but the African print now has it. This is where I'll be fixing my net and opening it. This is how my front looks like, the front part, and the back part is 2 pieces. This is my back part. Then the next thing for me to do now is to join the shoulder for both the lining and the fabric, right side facing each other. I'll place them together like so and join with ½ inch on the shoulder part. I will repeat it on my African print. So after joining it, this is what I will be having, and I iron my shoulder seam open. I made a belt. You can decide to do this to attach a belt or not, but I'll be attaching a belt. So I made a belt, and I have a video of how I create and attach my belt. Watch other of my videos, you'll see. So on those notches I made, I'm marking the waistline. There is a notch at the waistline, so I'm making that line visible, and I'll place one of my belts at the side and pin from the notch I made, and I'll tack. Then on the other side as well, I will place my belt and sew it down. From the line, you go up, you place it upwards, not down. So this is my waist, and after doing that, I now have this. I'll spread it out and bring my lining piece and place them right side facing each other, like so, right side facing each other. And I'll stitch on the armhole, leaving 1 inch for the zipper allowance. I'll not stitch to my zipper allowance. 1 inch on both sides for my zipper allowance, and I will stitch the armhole as well, the neckline and the armhole. So after stitching on the neckline and the armhole, I will give it a notch for it to relax, and I will turn from the front. What you see me doing, I'll turn from the front. It's easier to turn from the front, and after turning, I'll give it a good press for it to lay flat. So just take your time and turn. This is easier to do. It's not like you are seeing it. It's a bit easier to do, and it will leave you with a neat finishing. So after turning it out like this, I'll go to my ironing board and give it a good press. So this is what I have after giving it a good press. The next thing is for me to join the sides by taking the lining to the lining part from one side, and I'll pin it right side facing right side, lining to lining, the African print to the African print. Just what you see me doing. I'll pin it and I'll take to my sewing machine and stitch with 1-inch seam allowance that I left while drafting it. And the same thing is what I'll be repeating on the other side. I'll match the lining to the lining and the African print to the African print, and I will stitch with 1-inch seam allowance. You can retake these measurements, or you can just stitch with the allowance you left while drafting. So this is what I have after making the stitches. My belt is fixed and my inside is coming out neatly. So I iron the side seam open both for the lining and the African print. And if I take the measurement from my waist, the notch part of my waist, I will have exactly what I needed for my waist, which is 22 inches plus 2 inches for the zipper allowance. And for the hip, I'm having 26 inches. That is 24 inches plus 2 inches for the zipper allowance. So the next thing for me to do now is to fix my net on those scallops at the down part. So over here, I've cut out 11 inches length of net. The width of the net is 10 inches. So I have two 11 inches cut out. Both of them are 10 inches each and in the width. So I'll take them off. There are two ways that you can gather this net on the fabric. Each one is 10 yards by 11 inches. So the first way is by getting the net like this and pleating the net all around those curves. You get the net, you pleat them all around the curves and you sew. As you pleat, you sew. You finish one net and you take the other net and sew on top as well. Just pleat and sew and you take them through all the scallops. Or the second method is by measuring all those scallops like what you see me doing now. I'll take my tape rule and I will raise it up. I will not measure it flat, just the way you see me measuring it. I will take it through those curves carefully. I'll take it from one end to the another. This is the method that I will be using. I think it's a lot easier for me. So measure carefully from one curve to the other, raising the tape rule up. The tape is not flexible, so what I got there is 41 inches. Then I'll be adding it extra 4 inches. So I'll make my gathers about 45 inches to be on a safer side. So if it is 45 inches, I'm on a safer side. So I'll go ahead and gather my net, the 10 yards. I'll gather it and gather the second one, place it on top, and so I'll gather to a length of 45 inches. Because my measurement, I'll be taking 45 inches. So after gathering the two of them, this is what I have. The measurement is now 45 inches, and this way I'll go ahead and fix my net carefully. I think this is a lot easier for me. I'll not have to worry about having excess fabric remaining, excess net remaining. So just pin through those curves. It is flexible. I'll pin through the curves. As I pin, I will sew, or you can pin all through and start sewing to confirm the measurement. So as I'm pinning, if I pin through to the end and it's remaining small, I will loosen up some part and adjust it. So because I made SS to be on the safer side, and I think that was a lot easier for me. For the side seam, make sure you when you are pinning is open. Don't sew it together. So as I pin through to the end, I'll take to my sewing machine and run my stitches on it 1/2 inch. So and after doing this is what it will look like. After stitching on them, I have something like this. I think this is coming out. But if you want the cuff to be more prominent, I think 4 to 5 inches below the waistline is okay. I made 3 inches. If you want this curvy this way, it is 3 inches that I made it. But remember, the more deeper the curve is, the I think it will take you more time to sew because it will now be too curvy. So the next thing that I will do now is just take away my lining. I want to stitch only the Ankara fabric. I'll take away my lining and pin the African print down. I'll pin it to the net part. So I'll locate my waist area. From my waist area, I'll come down by 4 inches. So the 4 inches is to ease the child going in and out of the dress. I will close that end from that 4 inches downwards. I'll close it and I'll close the net to the next area as well, and I will leave the other part open. So after doing that, I'll fix my zipper to the open part. This is what I have after fixing my zipper. I've closed the down part and fixed my zipper only on the African print. The lining is still open. So this is what I have, and I will go ahead and measure my lining part, the remaining part that I'll be joining at the down part. But before then, for the fact that this is not sewn on a straight line, the hem will not be equal. So I'll go ahead and trim, just lay it flat on a surface and hold with your other hand, then trim to get a round edge. Make the hem equal. So I'll just take my time and trim to get an equal hem, because this wasn't sewn on a straight line, it was sewn on a curvy hem. So if it is not straight, if it is not giving you what you want, go ahead and reshape it to get exactly the hem you want. The hem should be uniform like I am doing. After doing that at the front, I will turn to the back and repeat that just to get a uniform hem. So this is what I have after doing it, and I'll turn the inside. I want to get the measurements for my lining. So for the lining part over now, I will take my measurements. After placing it from that lining part, I'll take the measurement to the hem of the net. So what I have was 12 inches that is remaining to be covered from the lining to the hem of the net, and I will take the circumference of the net, the lining rather, sorry, and I have 26 inches. So I'll bring my cotton lining and I'll be cutting a full circle, 360-degree circle. The how to get the amount of fabric to fold. Remember, the length that is remaining to complete it is 12 inches, but the lining and the net will not be equal. So I'll just reduce 2 inches from the lining. The net is 12. I'll reduce 2 inches from the lining. The length I measured was 12 inches, so I will reduce 2 inches from it. It will give me 10 inches. But I'll be having my seam allowance to hem the down part and to join it to that upper part of 1.5 inches. So I'll be having about 11.5 inches. That is the length I'll be needing. Then for my waist circumference entirely, I have 22 inches. I'll divide that by 6.28 since we are cutting a full circle, and I'll have 4.1 inches. I'll approximate it to 4 inches. So since I have this 4 inches and I already have 11.5 inches as the length, to know the amount of fabric to fold is 4 inches plus 11.5 inches, and I'll be having about 15.5 inches. So I'll put the fabric on fold. 15.5 inches times 2, I will just get a square that will give me 30.1 inches. Remember, the radius is 4 inches. So I'll fold my fabric such a way that I'll be having 15.5 inches on all the edges. So I'm measuring to fold my fabric. Remember, my fabric should be folded into 4. So the 4 sides should be measuring 15.5 inches. So that when I get my radius of 4 inches, I'll be left with 11.5 inches for the length. So I'm taking my 4 inches as the radius. I'm taking it all across, and after that I will take my length. So the length comprised of the actual length and my hemming allowance plus my joining allowance to the top. So I'll go ahead and join those lines, and I'll take my length, the length that I want, and I'll also mark across those lines. So I've made videos on how to cut full circle, half circles on my videos. Please, just if you are confused, check my previous video. You might get what you want there. So I'll go ahead and cut through the line, and my full circle is ready to be joined to the lining part. So since this is a full circle, I'll have to open up one part for my zipper, and this is what I am doing. So when I open up, I have this, and I'll go over and hem the down part. Take your time. This is a curvy hem. Take your time, hem it, and I'll bring my lining piece, my dress that is already coming out, place it flat, open up the zipper to ease joining. Right side facing each other, I will pin them down and sew with 1/2 inch. Take to my sewing machine and sew with 1/2 inch. So after sewing that, this is what I have already. You see, the lining is shorter than the net fabric. So remember, my zipper area is still open. I'll flip it up like this. That joining is at the hip. So from that joining, you will locate your waist area. Remember, from the waist area, you have to come down by 4 inches, just like we did on the African print, and we will join it, leaving opening for zip joining. So I'll do that, and I'll bring it back. I have my opening, so I'll flip it, open my zipper to ease the joining. I just want to get a neat finishing like this. Flip it over on top of the zipper. Watch carefully, you will understand what I'm doing. I'll flip it carefully and I'll pin. You have to pin. I advise you pin anyways. You can do without pinning, but I will advise you pin. So I'll pin it through. I'm taking one part of the zipper end, one part, and I will sew. You close up that edge and you sew close to the first line you made, close to that zipper teeth. Then after sewing, I will bring it out from the inside like this, and I will turn to the second part and repeat exactly what I did there, and I'll sew and bring it out. So after doing all this, this is what I have already, and my zipper is being fixed neatly. The inside is also neat, concealed neatly. This is the zipper part, neatly fixed. So please, thank you for watching to this point, and if you derive something, do give me a thumbs up, and also remember to subscribe and stay tuned to this channel. Thank you, and God bless you.